movie watchers, and binge soldiers, buckle up, because we're about to rip the glamorous mask off Hollywood and expose the festering underbelly the industry works overtime to hide. They sell us dreams, red carpets, million-dollar smiles, and Instagram-perfect lives. But behind the glitz, betrayal, corruption, abuse, careers shattered, reputations annihilated, and secrets buried deeper than an A-lister's plastic surgery for records. This isn't just gossip, it's power, manipulation, and lives destroyed in the name of fame and fortune. And here's the kicker. Half of what you've heard is only the tip of the iceberg. Let's peel back the curtain and dive into the biggest Hollywood scandals of the past 30 years, the ones they desperately wish you'd forget. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Harvey Weinstein, the predator who ran Hollywood. For decades, Weinstein wasn't just a producer, he was the producer. The man who could make or break careers with a phone call. And behind closed doors, he was a predator operating with impunity. From Ashley Judd to Rose McGowan, countless women spoke of hotel meetings that turned into nightmares. The whispers were always there. That's just Hollywood, they said. But why did it take until 2017 for the dam to finally break? Simple, power, and silence. Weinstein didn't just control movies. He controlled media narratives, political donations, and legal muscle. Victims were paid off, blacklisted or threatened. And let's not pretend the industry didn't know. Meryl Streep called him God in her 2012 Golden Globe speech. Quentin Tarantino admitted he'd heard the stories and done nothing. How many careers were sacrificed to protect a monster? How many producers, agents, and journalists looked the other way because it was easier to stay silent? But Weinstein wasn't the first. The casting couch culture has plagued Hollywood since its golden age. Louis B. Mayer, the co-founder of MGM, was notorious for preying on young actresses under the guise of mentorship. Judy Garland herself recounted how Mayer would touch her inappropriately when she was just a teenager. Jack Warner, another studio titan, wielded power like a weapon, trading roles for sexual favors. Weinstein was simply the modern face of an old, rotten system, one that didn't die with him. When the #MeToo movement exploded, it wasn't just about Weinstein. It was a reckoning for the entire industry. But here's a question they'd rather you not ask. If Weinstein fell, how many more are still standing? Hollywood didn't suddenly become safe. It just learned to be quieter. And if you think the casting couch is dead, you're living in a fantasy bigger than a Marvel movie. Let's dig deeper into the #MeToo movement's aftermath. Sure, some powerful men fell from grace, but how many quietly settled lawsuits and slipped back into power? How many predators just got better at hiding their tracks? Bryan Singer, the director behind X-Men and Bohemian Rhapsody, faced multiple accusations of sexual abuse involving minors. Yet he continued to land big-budget projects long after the allegations surfaced. Hollywood's solution? Quietly push him out of the spotlight while keeping the profits rolling. Next up, Britney Spears, the star they broke. Hit Me Baby One More Time wasn't just a song, it was a prophecy. Britney Spears wasn't just a pop star, she was a product, chewed up and spit out by an industry that profits off youth, beauty, and breakdowns. Paparazzi swarmed her like vultures. Tabloids called her a bad mom for driving with her baby on her lap while ignoring the 50 photographers chasing her down the highway. And when she shaved her head in 2007, it wasn't rebellion, it was desperation. How do you escape when the world owns you? But the real scandal, the conservatorship. For 13 years, Britney, an adult woman earning millions, was stripped of her autonomy. Her father, Johnny Spears, controlled everything. Her finances, her career, even her body. She couldn't marry, couldn't have more children, couldn't spend her own money. And the world laughed it off as crazy Britney. Where were the women's rights activists? The mental health advocates? The media, who once called her a train wreck, conveniently stayed quiet until the Free Britney movement forced them to care. And here's the question that should haunt us. How many other celebrities are trapped in gilded cages, controlled by the very people who claim to protect them? Britney was famous enough to spark outrage. But what about the ones we never hear about? Hollywood is an ecosystem built on control, and for every Britney Spears, there's an anonymous actor, musician, or dancer fighting the same battle without the world watching. Let's talk about child stars. For every success story, there's a dozen tales of exploitation and trauma. Corey Feldman has long spoken out about the rampant sexual abuse of young actors in the industry. His friend and fellow child star, Corey Haim, wasn't so lucky. Haim struggled with addiction for years, a direct result of the abuse he endured. And the industry? It shrugged. How many other young actors have been chewed up and spit out while their abusers enjoyed long, celebrated careers? Then there's Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, the trial that turned domestic violence into reality TV. Johnny Depp, the beloved Captain Jack Sparrow, versus Amber Heard, the rising star turned activist. At first, Heard painted herself as the victim. Photos of bruises, tearful interviews, a Washington Post op-ed that ignited the Me Too crowd. Depp was cancelled overnight. Disney dropped him, studios ghosted him, and the internet branded him abuser. But then the tapes leaked. Heard admitting to hitting Depp, mocking him. "Tell the world, Johnny," she sneered. "See how many people believe you." And the world did believe him, eventually. The 2022 defamation trial wasn't just about two celebrities airing dirty laundry. It was about the dark side of victimhood, manipulation, and media bias. Heard had hitched her wagon to a movement that thrives on unquestioning belief, and Depp's team tore it apart. But let's not pretend Depp was an angel. Drugs, alcohol, and mutual toxicity painted the picture of a couple locked in a war where truth was collateral damage. The verdict? Depp won, but at what cost? His career may be crawling back, but the court of public opinion remains divided. And the question lingers, was this justice or just another Hollywood circus? And how about the Epstein-Hollywood connection? Who really knew? Jeffrey Epstein, the name that should send chills down every spine in Hollywood. A financier? Sure. But more importantly, a trafficker with an address book filled with the world's elite. Politicians, billionaires, and yes, celebrities. Epstein's private jet, the notorious Lolita Express, didn't just fly to private islands for fun. And yet, after his arrest and convenient death in 2019, Hollywood collectively shrugged. Chris Tucker flew on Epstein's jet. So did Kevin Spacey. Models, actors, producers, how many knew what was happening? How many looked the other way? Ghislaine Maxwell's trial barely made headlines, despite her being the gatekeeper to Epstein's empire. And here's the real scandal. Why isn't Hollywood demanding answers? If a reality star's cheating scandal can dominate the news cycle, why did Epstein's client list vanish into thin air? And let's not forget Will Smith's slap, violence or performance. The 2022 Oscars. Will Smith, the Fresh Prince turned respected actor, storms the stage and slaps Chris Rock for a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head. Shock. Silence. Applause. Yes, applause. Smith won his Oscar minutes later, gave a tearful speech about love making you do crazy things, and walked away like a hero. But let's dissect this. A millionaire actor assaults a comedian on live TV, and Hollywood closes ranks. He was defending his wife, they said. But flip the script. What if it had been The Rock on stage? What if a white actor had slapped a black comedian? Would the narrative have been the same? Smith's reputation took a hit, but barely. A year-long ban from the Oscars? Please. He's already back to making movies. The real question: did this moment expose Hollywood's hypocrisy on violence, race, and celebrity privilege? If love justifies assault, where do we draw the line? Hollywood sells us stories, on screen and off. They curate narratives, bury scandals, and reinvent villains as heroes when the PR machine kicks in. For every exposed Weinstein, there's another predator still dining at Chateau Marmont. For every hat-free Britney victory, there's another star suffering in silence. And for every Depp vs. Heard circus, there's a quieter tragedy ignored because it doesn't sell clicks. And let's not forget Mel Gibson, the man who fell and somehow rose again. After his infamous 2006 DUI arrest and anti-Semitic rant, Gibson's career should have been over. But Hollywood has a funny way of forgiving its own, especially if they're powerful and profitable. A decade later, he was back in the director's chair, receiving standing ovations. Compare that to how quick the industry was to erase others for far less. What does that say about who gets redemption and who doesn't? Or Kevin Spacey, whose fall from grace was swift but incomplete. After allegations of sexual misconduct surfaced in 2017, Netflix cut ties and House of Cards wrote him out. But while Spacey disappeared from mainstream Hollywood, he never truly left. Cryptic YouTube videos, odd Christmas messages, he lingered in the shadows, waiting for the tides to turn. And if history teaches us anything, it's that tides always turn in Hollywood, especially if you have the right connections. Even the college admissions scandal pulled back the curtain on celebrity privilege. Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman didn't just cheat the system, they exposed how deeply rigged it already was. For every rich kid buying their way into USC, how many talented, hard-working students were pushed aside? Loughlin served 2 months in prison. Huffman, just 11 days. Would the outcome have been the same for someone without fame and fortune? So, here's my challenge to you. Who do you believe? Who do you question? Does it even matter as long as we are entertained? Or how long will we keep letting Hollywood decide which stories matter? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like if you're tired of the lies. Share if you think someone needs to hear the truth. And subscribe, because we're just getting started. The next scandal? It's already brewing.